Today's guest is a certified divorce lending professional with more than 25 years of experience in the mortgage industry. She specializes in guiding divorcing individuals through one of the biggest financial decisions they'll face: what to do with the marital home. By working closely with attorneys, mediators, and financial professionals, she helps ensure mortgage solutions fit seamlessly into divorce settlements, creating stability and clarity for her clients. Through her expertise in divorce mortgage planning, home equity division, and mortgage qualification assessments, her mission is to empower homeowners with the knowledge and tools to make decisions that support their long-term financial goals. Please welcome Tami Wollensak.
All right, welcome everybody to this week's episode. Tami, I'm so happy that you were able to join us today and give us some professional insight into the mortgage side of divorce, because I know this is something that affects probably like 99.9% of divorcing couples, is what to do with the marital home if you don't lease it, right? So if you're a homeowner.
Me, Shauna, I appreciate the opportunity to talk to your listeners or your viewers.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many things that go into divorce, and I find that home and children are the two biggest concerns that I see, at least with my clients. So, can you just walk us through, maybe if somebody is getting divorced and they own their home, what are some things that they should be thinking about?
First of all, I like to say to empower you to make better, good financial decisions, because this is a financial decision. It may feel like an emotional decision because it's your home, right? And there's a lot of emotion when it's tied to your home because you lived in the community, your kids may have grown up there, you have friends in the area. There's a lot of reasons that people want to keep the home: stability for the kids. All of those things are emotional reasons, but making it, trying to understand the financial impact of what you're asking for is really going to help empower you, not only through the negotiations of what you're trying to accomplish, but also to make sure that post divorce, whatever you sign up for, you're comfortable with, that you qualify for it, and that you understand what that means for your future. Right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's such a big statement too, right? Because like you said, a lot of emotions go into this. And I think whether you're staying in the marital home or having to move, either one, you're having to decide, can I even afford to stay in the marital home, right? Because again, a lot of women specifically tie a lot of emotions to that home. Like for me, it was like, this is where I brought my baby home from the hospital, all of those things. But can you even afford to stay in the home?
Yeah.
And this economy, can you afford to move out of the home? I mean, there's so many
Right.
things that go into it.
Many things. And the earliest you can know what all of the options are and know what that means and how to really, it does help empower you to make better decisions. And through the negotiations, as we know, it's a negotiation. Now at this point, if you're at the point where you're either contemplating divorce or in the middle of the divorce, you're going to be negotiating with your spouse probably one of the biggest marital assets, which is the equity in the marital home. And when I say equity, and I'll like kind of explain because not everybody knows what that term means, is you're taking whatever you agree to the value of the home. So there's ways of actually getting a real number, but you have to agree on the number, whatever the number is, whatever the value of the home is. One person can't say it's worth 400 and the other say 500. You really need to come up with an option of what the number is. That number minus any mortgage or mortgages, if there's a
Mm-hmm.
loan, a first mortgage and a HELOC, or a first mortgage and a second mortgage, the combined number. Let's pretend that it's worth 500 and you owe 300, then there's $200,000 worth of equity. That is the marital asset. That is what
Hmm.
you're negotiating. It isn't the house itself. There are some things that need to be done for title and that type of thing, but really, when you're trying to divide real estate, it's how do you divide the equity in the home and
Hmm.
how do you come up with what those numbers are and what makes the most sense? Because you can't just go to a negotiation table and say, I want to because I feel like I deserve to keep this. The court
Hmm.
system doesn't care, and you're not going to be able to do that just because you feel like you've been unfairly treated or whatever. You have to come to the table with options and a plan.
That's a good point. And so, to that point, would you suggest that people meet with a mortgage lender before going into negotiations or settlements?
Yes. And here's the thing. I specialize in divorce. So I'm a mortgage lender with 30 years experience in lending, but I also understand the gap that truly exists between family law and mortgage lending. A divorce attorney does not know mortgage lending. Your divorce attorney cannot give you guidance regarding whether you should keep the home or not. It's not their lane. So if you have a divorce attorney that's saying you should sell or you should keep it or you should whatever, and they're not following that up with, but you should talk to somebody that understands these nuances and can give you the guidance, that's not the right professional to be asking because they're not going to be able to give you the guidance that you're looking for.
Right. And I mean, I know we're here to talk about mortgage lending and selling a marital home, but like I stress this to my clients about every facet of the divorce, right? Like I think in an ideal world, you have this team assembled of people who know their niche and can guide you on that. And then you take all that information to the lawyer and say, per all of these people, this is what's going to be best for me, right? Instead of, I think, what society has been trained to do is hire a lawyer and expect them to fill in all of the blanks on our behalf when really they're not financial advisors, they're not mortgage lenders, they're not realtors, they're not therapists, they're not any of these things that we're really relying on them to be.
And that is what makes it such a broken system because I think at some point in time, I don't know if people saw it on TV or what, like, hey, I'm going through a divorce. Oh, you better go hire an attorney. That
Mhm.
a lot of times is not the right answer. The
Mhm.
right answer is figuring out what all of these things mean. And then, exactly like you said, then bringing all the information to the attorney to write it up in a settlement agreement. That is going to be the most economical way to get through a divorce. And I'm 100% supporter of that and believe in that. And that is the way that I went through my own divorce. And so I know that it can work that way if you can understand really the process of divorce and that you don't have to, you do not want the court system involved in your agreements. You
Mhm.
can avoid it.
Yeah, that's what I tell everyone. I'm like, that is the end of the line. When a judge is deciding for you what happens to your children, your home, your assets, that is like worst case scenario.
Sure.
What can we do beforehand to prevent getting there?
A lot of times people they take counterproductive positions and drag it out thinking that they're going to win something or do something, and then at the end of the day it comes right back to being an equitable distribution, and then they sign before they even go to court, and then they've wasted all that time, energy, and money, and it just doesn't have to be that way.
And something that, sparked in my mind when you said this is the most economical way to do it, I think people see, okay, I have to pay 500 for this consultation, 300 for this consultation with all of these professionals. It does get to be a lot, especially now when everyone is so strapped in this economy. But on the back end, think of all of the money that you could be saving or accruing by getting the right settlement, having just like put up a little bit up front to get the right advice.
Absolutely. I talk about this all the time on all my social media channels is bringing together all of the right professionals. I mean, there's divorce attorneys out there. I just had lunch with one last week. His hourly rate is $650 an hour. So think about what 10 minutes for him to read an email from you or for you to explain something to him would cost.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're talking about things being economical, a lot of times these professionals will guide and help you. I don't charge anything for my services.
Mm-hmm.
So, I can put together a really amazing plan and some options for you. And then if you need mortgage lending to get through these decisions for yourself, then that's how I make my money. That's how I get paid. But to do the planning and to come up with all of the options and for you to understand it, it's not going to cost you. But if you ask a divorce attorney how to do, what are the options on the marital home, and then they try to go down some rabbit hole because they think they know, you're just causing yourself a larger legal bill. That is not
Mm-hmm.
the right person to ask. Same thing with, coaches and financial advisors and all of these professionals that can help you probably are not 600.
Right. No. And just like, I do the free consultation too. And then it's like, okay, the work comes later, but, just to kind of, I feel like when you're leading with your heart, we probably give away more for free than we really
Me
should.
too.
But that's just like the passion that we have because, you and I have both been through this. So was
Right.
there something that you learned? I'm sure there was a lot of things that you learned, but in terms of the mortgage or the house, when you were going through it personally, that like sparked this drive in you?
Absolutely. Like I said, I've been in lending for 30 years. And then when I started, I was in a different facet of lending for a lot of years. And then when I started dealing direct with the consumer, I started getting settlement agreements and people were bringing me their settlement agreements saying I need to refinance the house and do a buyout. And I was looking at their settlement agreements only to be horrified by what was in the agreement that they were going to have to do this within X period of time. Let's call it 90 days. This is a really big one. Let's say that they have to do the refinance and the buyout within 90 days. And let's say that they're receiving support income and that is part of their income to qualify for this. Well, I need 6 months of receipt of that. So we cannot close a loan for you with only 3 months of receipt of the support. We need to wait 3 more months. Well, at that point, you are not following the court order, right? You've been ordered to pay to do this within a 90-day period of time. I need 6 months. Then there's a big gap there. Or maybe you don't have enough income to actually complete this transaction. Or maybe you do have enough to complete the transaction and you look at it and you're horrified by what your new mortgage payment is going to be, which is even scarier, right? That now you are looking at that and thinking, that is going to make me house poor.
Right.
And I didn't do that. And that is the worst part of all of it. And that is basically what drove me to helping people prior to them signing their settlement agreement is I did it. I signed up for the McMansion because I thought that that would be the most stable way to keep my kids in the house and keep me, in the house and all the things, only to be, post divorce, only to just see money flying out the window because now I have a big mortgage. I have maintenance items that, there was two of us to maintain the home. And now I live in Illinois. And so, we have fall cleanup and spring cleanup and snow removal and gutter cleaning and maintaining the furnace. And, at this point, my house was about 10 years old. And so appliances were starting to go to break and all the things. And here I am owning this house, this giant house that I couldn't even clean all of it.
Right.
And then I realized this is crazy. What am I doing? So it was making me stressed, which in turn was making my children stressed, right? Because I was stressed.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't realize that transfer of energy that you have and that your kids pick up on when mom or dad or under a lot of pressure or stress by their finances, that it's only going to cause their children a lot of distress. And people most of the time want to do it for the kids.
Yeah, right.
And you're not doing your kids any service if you're stressed and strapped and feeling pressure by making a large mortgage payment and trying to maintain a piece of real estate that you have no business owning.
Right. And I think exactly what you just went through is what a lot of people, specifically, women, because a lot of times, like, we buy our house for the first time when we get married. Maybe we're not even part of like the details of like the paperwork and how old is the roof, and you know what I mean? And so I remember like one of my very first clients. I love that women are starting to make more money, and like a lot of them are the breadwinners, and I love seeing that. But it was like, can you afford the mortgage if you're on your own? And she said yes. And I'm like, okay, great. What about how old are your appliances? How old is your roof? Do you get this, lawn maintenance? Do you get it cleaned? Like all of these things. And she's like, I literally never thought of that, because you just think of the mortgage. Like
So
it's just the
true.
one thing, and it's so many other details that go into it. And so I'm glad to be opening up more people's eyes. And when you're going through all of your details with your
Yeah.
clients, it's really eye-opening, because let's do it beforehand, not when you're stuck with this mortgage and then the roof
Yeah.
needs to be replaced, or whatever the case may be.
Right. And I have clients all the time that, like you said, haven't really sat down and thought about what their budget is. They're just looking at the amount of money going in their bank account and thinking, well, I could afford that. They're looking at their current mortgage payment. They're looking at, what the money is going in their bank account. They're not thinking past any large ticket items that could come up, anything that had to do with maintaining the real estate up until that point, right? Because, like you said, it's a divide and conquer. There's absolutely no shame in it. There's no shame in the fact that you were not involved in the finances and you didn't know. You don't know what you don't know. And so that is why surrounding yourself with a group of professionals that can bring this to your attention and be like, hey, let's make a budget. Let's look at these things. Let's see if this actually makes sense for you, because if it doesn't, this is a great time to, like, sever the ties and try to find something that does work for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what I have found more often than not is, even if they stay in the home, we go through these roller coaster of emotions with the divorce. It's like a year later, if you check in with them, it's like, I don't even want to live in this house anymore, because it's like my marital home, right? Every time you turn around, there's like a memory. It's almost like you're stuck kind of in that
Right. I
yucky
agree.
transition.
I agree. It doesn't help you hit the reset button and move forward. And sometimes, I've talked to hundreds of divorcing clients at this point, and sometimes those memories are memories you don't want.
Yeah.
So, there are some great memories. A lot of, like you said, maybe your kids were born and you brought your first child home to the house. Maybe your kids grew up in the house. Maybe you had parties at the house. Maybe those are sometimes really great memories, but you have to weigh the fact and kind of visualize. I always say, sit down, visualize yourself sitting in the house. Now you're living in it by yourself. What are all the things? And for me, it was so much more, like even cleaning the house. Like, I'd clean one section of it, the basement, and then, the rest of the house was going to hell in a handbasket because I just didn't have the time. It wasn't like I
Mm-hmm.
had, and I didn't want to spend all weekend cleaning my house, or whatever. So, um, it was really the best decision for me. And that is really where I found that, oh my goodness, I can't be the only one. Can't be
No.
the only one that's doing this. And I have found I'm not.
Right.
And it is a really big decision. And a lot of times people kick the can down the road because they're already overwhelmed and already
Mm-hmm.
stressed by making so many other big decisions and life decisions. And it can feel very overwhelming, especially if you haven't been involved in the finances and you could potentially be afraid of even not knowing the right questions to ask. But we're here. guide people, right? And we're here to give people like, hey, have you thought about this? What about that? And the guidance, I think, is really helps people with clarity.
Yeah, and that's a perfect segue into my next question, which would be, if somebody is coming to see you, they're going through a divorce, what is their expectation for like the first meeting? What should they come
Yeah.
prepared with?
So I don't overwhelm people too much with the first meeting. I ask them very basic questions. What do you think the house is worth? Do you know what you owe on it? And then I give them some guidance on these are the things. Are you on the mortgage? Are you not on the mortgage? And these are some really basic things on how to look at this. And this is what you're actually going to be negotiating. And here are what the options look like. And now, if you want to move forward with some more in detailed planning and some specifics, then let's take a loan application. So we actually take a loan application. I get some basic guidance, not that you are going to complete a transaction, but this gives me the very best way to look at your situation today and do some projections for you. Look at your current credit report. Look what's on your credit report. What kind of
Hmm.
debts are on your credit report? Maybe some of those debts are going to be assigned to your spouse. Maybe you're not going to be responsible for them, such as their car payment. Maybe they're taking their car and their car payment with them, right?
Hmm.
So that I can give guidance. Okay, well, that needs to be assigned specifically in your settlement agreement so that I can remove it. Let's say that you want to go and buy a new house post divorce. Let's say your spouse is going to buy you out. Well, as a lender, I can remove those are called contingent liabilities. So I can remove those debts from you moving forward and trying to buy something new as long as it's specific in the settlement agreement, right? And as long as I can identify, okay, this is assigned to the spouse. And so I remove it from the debt to income ratios. We can say, okay, great. He's taking the car, she's taking the car, whatever it is. And then, this is what you can qualify for from a new purchase perspective. Maybe you want to buy something new. What does that look like for you? And what type of purchase price am I looking at? What would my payment be if I bought something new for myself? What if I take the buyout money and then right size my budget, put some of that money as a down payment? And then now I have an emergency fund for myself. I don't have a house with a ton of equity in it. I have a bank account with cash and I have a new property that has a payment that's reasonable for me. What does that look like for me?
Yeah.
So coming up with all of those options, you can see, is it A, I'm going to keep the house and this is what it's going to look like. Is it B, I'm going to sell the house or he's going to buy me out or my spouse. I shouldn't say he or she, right? Is going to buy me out and then I can use that money to do something else. And what does that all look like? But you can't
Mhm.
guess. You can't have
Right.
all the numbers just rolling around in your head wondering, right? It's much better if it's physically written and we're using real numbers, we're using real time interest rates, and we're using projections as to what maybe you do need support and how much does it need to be. Well, if I say that it needs to be 5,000 and that you're only going to get 1,500, then that's not going to work, right?
Right, right. And I'm sure you see this all the time with finances, especially. People just like to like dig their head in the sand and like not really digging deep. But like you said, unless you know where you stand financially or what goals, it could be something to work towards down the road. Maybe you're not buying a house right now. Well, how much do I need to save? Where do I stand with my finances? Because, like you said, if you're hitting that reset button, let's start fresh on our own with real numbers. Otherwise, you're just kind of like guessing and then could really dig yourself a deep hole down the road if you're not really paying attention to your finances.
Absolutely. It's always best to know so that you can empower yourself to make better informed decisions. One of my taglines is reset, rebuild, and rise, right? Like you just have to hit the reset button, rebuild everything that you feel like you're losing, and you will come out on the other side. But if you
Mhm.
don't know, you're going to feel overwhelmed.
Mhm.
If you don't know, it's just going to constantly be this thing that's digging at you that you have to accomplish, and you don't know what the answer is going to be. It's always best to just figure it out and then be able to move forward.
Right. And in that overwhelm, and not just mortgage related, but divorce related, everything's overwhelming. So, like, let's break it down into these bite sized chunks that seem manageable, which I think would be so beneficial for them to talk with a mortgage lender to figure out where they stand, come up with that plan, and then start implementing it moving forward versus just never figuring it out and being stuck in that same position. You know, the time is going to pass no matter what. So why not build something instead of just kind of like staying stagnant?
100% agree with you. Yes.
Have you seen, I'm sure you've seen like the state of the economy. Has that changed a lot of things in your world in terms of like divorce, or what are the trends right now?
Yeah, I mean, if most people have an interest rate that's around 3%. And we're calling it the golden handcuffs because nobody wants to get rid of it, right? It's like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, my interest rate. And everybody thinks when they come to me, I have to laugh because, they say, well, I have a really great rate. Really? You and half the world, like
Right.
that's amazing, So they want to hold on to that, but understanding what holding on to that means and what all of the nuances around that mean is really important because interest rates are not what they were. They are not around 3%. If rates right now are in the high sixes, what does that do to you and your new payment? Can you keep that current mortgage rate? Everybody wants to talk about that. How do I keep it? How do I keep the rate? How do I keep the terms? Okay, you may be able to do that, but what does that entail?
Mhm.
What's the timeline that needs to be taken into consideration? And what are you giving up to do it?
Mhm.
Right? What are you giving up to keep your loan, keep the terms the way that it is right now? And how does that work?
Yeah.
Knowing what all of those options are, once again, is going to help you put put that to rest. Is that either going to be an option or not an option?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Very good. Well, this was really enlightening. Is there anything that, like, if somebody's starting off on their journey, they're feeling that overwhelm that we've been talking about. Now they have an idea that a mortgage lender is maybe the next move that they need to take, or one of the moves, in the list. What would you say is like they know they have to talk to somebody, and then what? How do they find a good one if they're not in your area?
So I am what's called a certified divorce lending professional. And all that means is that I was trained in the gap between mortgage lending and family law. And I'm a divorce mortgage specialist. So I specialize in this area. If you go to your local bank or you go to any mortgage lender, they're going to tell you, once you're divorced, bring me your divorce decree, and then I'll tell you if you qualify. They don't
Mm.
have the specialized training that I do in order to be able to do projections for you, to be able to speak the language
Mhm.
that you're going to need in order to relay the information to your attorney or your financial advisor or your divorce coach or your therapist. Even you're going to need some specialized language that bridges that gap between family law and mortgage lending. And so to find specialists to help you, this is not the time to find a generalist, right?
Mhm.
You need your appendix out, you don't go to like your family doctor, right?
Right.
You go to a specialist, and this is the time that you double down and you really look for specialists and people that can advise you. Thing with financial, the financial picture. My lane is just the mortgage on the house and the house itself. when it comes to your full marital balance sheet and understanding if you should exchange equity with retirement, that is not my lane. And I would refer you to a certified divorce financial analyst because
Mhm.
they're the ones that can help guide you and look at the full marital balance sheet and help you understand if that makes sense for you or not, because it's not a dollar for dollar exchange.
Right.
So, finding these specialists, and we all, and I'm sure you have them too, Shauna, have people in our back pocket that
Mhm.
we like to work with and that we can refer people to, and surrounding yourself with these individuals and make sure that you feel heard.
Mhm.
Make sure that you feel that people are listening to you, that they're not talking over you and giving you what they would do. This is not my money. This is not my decision,
Mhm.
to make. I'm here to guide you. I am here to give you what the options are. And if you meet any professional that is, that you get spidey senses that you're not feeling that somebody is listening to what your goals and objectives are. And a lot of times, unfortunately, in some of our lanes, in the mortgage world, if you just go to a generalist, they're just there to close a loan.
Mhm. Right.
So they're there to really tell, like, let me know when you need a loan. Otherwise, I'm not here to help. And I'm here more as a consultant.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I know you're in Illinois, but I know other mortgage lenders that I've talked to, they are able to help in other states. Does that apply
Yeah.
to you?
Yeah. So believe it or not, I'm licensed in 32, but I have a team of people and we can lend in all 50. So it doesn't
Great.
matter where you are in the country. I can help you, especially with the planning. And then if you need a loan at the end of the day, then we can help you with the transaction. So yes, I can help in all the states.
Okay, so fabulous. So tell everyone, and I will post it in the podcast episode information, but just go ahead and tell us how we can get in touch with you or follow you on social media.
Yeah, all my social media handles, I think I've given you. I'm really trying to give a lot of guidance right now on empowered uncoupling on YouTube. So if you want long form content about how to, what some of these nuances are regarding it, there. I'm on Instagram at Tami Wollensak, and my website is Tami Wollensak. I wouldn't expect people to be able to spell that. So the website is actually takeorleavethehouse.com.
I love that.
And takeorleavethehouse.com, that'll direct you to consult, to my calendar, to what working with me looks like. And then Empowered Uncoupling is the umbrella that I am under for any type of consulting services and any type of guidance
Perfect.
regarding this.
Okay, great. And so, yes, I got that from you, and I will link that in the episode summary. And so everyone can follow you. I'm going to go check it out myself and learn a few things, I think.
Great. I look forward to it. Yeah.
Tammy, this was so nice. Thank you so much for lending your
Of
time to
course.
us.
Yeah, it was so great. Thank you for having me. It was such a pleasure.
Absolutely. And we'll have you back another time to speak
Great.
about something else.
Sounds good.
All right. Take care.
Thanks. You too.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. If you're navigating the challenging journey of divorce and need personalized guidance, I'm here to help. As a dedicated divorce coach, I can support you through every step of the process, providing the tools and strategies you need to rebuild and thrive. Visit my website at shaunawardencoaching.com to book your appointment today. Remember, you don't have to go through this alone. Together, we can turn this difficult time into a new beginning. Until next time, take care and stay strong. Before we close, I want to tell you about a tool that's helped so many of my clients create structure and peace of mind in high conflict parenting situations, and that's SoberLink. It's a real time, court admissible alcohol monitoring system designed specifically for co parenting. And right now, they're offering a $100 enrollment bonus for new clients. Whether you're renting a device or purchasing one outright, it's never been easier to get started. Visit the link in the show notes to learn more and see if SoberLink is right for your parenting plan.